What's up guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk of To Hell and Back Again, part 1. The new book from VARG VIKERNES released the last January. The first of 4 for now. So I didn't buy the book. A friend of mine here in Norway gave it to me. And I'm gonna tell you a little bit of how is the book in my opinion, what's going on in general with VARG VIKERNES, and a couple of news about him. If you're new to the channel, this video is about music. Music and only music. So please be respectful in the comment section. No politics comment, just music. So let's make a little summary of the book and what I found really interesting in it. So the book starts with him talking about how he got involved in the death metal scene. When he was 14, his brother bought a guitar, and apparently for no reason he also bought one. He says that at the time, at that age, he was doing karate a few times per week, so now we know from where this came from. And for the rest of the time he spent his time playing role-play games with friends, which, if you ask me, that was a nice childhood. And he continued to do that with his friends till 17, when they decided to prioritize formal education. This part was funny because he called them stupid bastards. Anyways, since his friends prioritized education, he had more time to dedicate to the guitar. And he ended to know about death metal when he lost his guitar pick. So he ended up asking a girl's brother if he could borrow a guitar pick. Wasn't it easier and cheaper just to go on a music store and buy a pick? Anyways, instead of giving him a pick, he got invited in. And that day also the guys of Old Funeral were there. And this is how he learned for the first time what death metal was. He said that at the time he only heard about thrash metal, bands like Bathory, Creator and Slayer. From the second chapter he started to talk about how the hate towards death metal bands started. And seems that everything started with Morbid Angel, being one of those bands that made it through the mainstream, and how everybody started to copy their look, how everybody was traveling far to record in the same studio of Morbid Angel to get the same sound. And they were complaining about the integrity, the creativity and so on. And then after talking of death metal and Morbid Angel, he just switched talking of Euronymous. Because yeah, he can't have 5 minutes without talking of Euronymous. I think he slept with a picture of Euronymous because I never seen someone with so much hate for a person. We will talk about that more later. Basically, he say one day he and the guys from Old Funeral wanted to visit a guy called Euronymous, and from that he started to rant on Mayhem. How the band was playing since 1984 and they were a total failure, saying that this is supposed to be Euronymous' words. Necrobutcher was spending more of his time with his girlfriend, smoking pods, and Hellhammer was running around Oslo screwing sluts. He also runs on their mini album, Death Crush. Is the genre, it's how he called the album that I love it. Noisy, funcore metal music. It's like that the only thing that they have in common was that hate towards death metal. So it was 1991 when he decided to leave Old Funeral to do something different. And that different is what ended up being burzum. The other 3 guys from Old Funeral, which one was Abbott, soon will also left the band and form what will be Immortal. Damn, I wish I could interview Abbott or Demonauts to know more about that time. I need to get in touch with those guys. So at this point he says that he don't remember precisely when, but Euronymous opened his store in Oslo, and that year Morbid Angel were going to play in Oslo, so they decide to take this opportunity to visit the Euronymous store. The thing that I don't understand is, seems like that he already has a low respect from Euronymous and Mayhem. Why you even wasted your time going to see him or even talk or even spending time with him? So looks like that at this time Dead was already dead, and that Euronymous make up this story that Dead killed himself because he couldn't see any more metal bands playing in jogging pants, and this is the reason why he himself, which of course we all know that it's a total bullshit, because Dead struggled with depression and mental problems, and I don't think that anybody in this world will kill themselves because there is people on your favorite music that play live shows in jogging. I mean, when you're a teenager the story looks pretty cool, right? Then you grow up and you're like, okay. He didn't deny though that Euronymous took pieces of Dead Skull and Brain and sent it to different musicians, friends, and so on. And this also was confirmed by Morgan from Marduk in 2012. Even if it seems like that from people that I talk with that are close to Morgan, he got rid of it. I think for the respect of the family. But of course, don't call me on that. I don't really know the details. Varg, though, didn't get anything. There's a musician that he actually never talks shit is Fenris and Darkthrone. He actually praised Blades in the Northern Sky, calling it the first ever black metal album. And I've read many interviews in the past, since I was 14 when I discovered black metal. And I always see him talking good about Fenris. I don't know why, I don't know if they have a nice relationship, I don't know anything, but it'll be good to talk with Fenris one day. And also is really interesting, that's why I think the book has some nice thing. The black metal raw sound from the 90s was done on purpose to sound different from death metal, which was trying to make things sound good. So on the other hand, they wanted to make things sound bad, the opposite of death metal. Isn't crazy if you think about that, considering how good old school death metal is? One thing he will say here, and I was like, what the fuck? He basically called Emperor and Enslaved posers for changing from death metal to black metal, because in his opinion they changed it for the trend of the moment, not really because they wanted, and they just sound like Immortal and Burzum. He called them copy bands, and not true black metal because they didn't have their own style, which if you ask me, Emperor sounds pretty different from Burzum, like Enslaved also sounds pretty different from Burzum and Immortal. I mean, I don't hear anything in Emperor that reminds me of Burzum. This is another funny thing in the book, that border of this situation of death metal bands switching to black metal and not be considered real true black metal. Euronymous was going house to house to call their doorbell, telling people to stop calling their bands black metal. Where else? Guys, it's just me, I'm maybe too old now, but all these things sound so cringe, just like teenager stuff, you know? It's interesting that he also described what looks like being the beginning of the hate between the two, and it's when Euronymous printed his first album, the first Burzum album, and at some point Varg went in his shop in Oslo to give him a hand, because the things weren't going really well with the shop. And the infamous interview of Varg that happened in his apartment was done to actually help Euronymous promoting the black metal scene and his shop. And he says that the interview should have been anonymous, he should have just, promote the black metal scene, the shop. But looks like that the journalist was a fanatic Christian that called the police just before the interview went out. And yeah, the police basically arrested him. This thing though brought a huge amount of new customers and popularity to the black metal scene, but ended up that Euronymous closed the shop due to the pressure of his parents. Because you can be evil as much as you want, but if mom says you're closing, you're closing. So let's skip now to the creepy part, the more interesting part, when he drove from Bergen to Euronymous' apartment. What impressed me here, as you all know, he said that Euronymous started to spread his voice that he wanted to kidnap Varg, bring him in a forest, torture him and film everything. So he said the reason why he drove there is because it was like, okay, if I bring him the signed contract, he will not find any more excuse to contact me, so he wouldn't be able to execute his plan. So he drove there. He said that he was a little bit too much aggressive, maybe more than he should have been, and that's probably why the situation ended like this. I will not explain any detail about the we all know that, you have probably read anywhere. What really impressed me is how he goes in the details of it, and how he literally don't give a shit, and how he still have the same hate for that guy after 20 years. You see, many people, after some years, growing up, getting older, people that did things in the past, thinking about the past and say, yes, it was an error, I could have acted better, yes, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, should have happened. In his case, looks like his brain is stuck on that day. It's a constant hate towards Euronymous. It's a constant, yeah, it was just self-defense because that guy wanted to do this to me. So, and this is what he really wrote in the book, I have all the rights in the world to kill murder that piece of shit. My question is, in many other interviews, even on his YouTube channel, he always said Euronymous was a pussy, Euronymous was a talker, he never did anything. He didn't have the balls to do anything. So you first tell me that he didn't have balls, and then you were so convinced that that guy will kidnap you, bring you in a forest, and chew you. You know, I think that, at least at the time, I don't know now, he was a little bit slow, you know, of comprehending stuff. And this was actually confirmed by the psychiatric in the 1994 when he was arrested. Vikernes was characterized by underdeveloped mental faculties. So, you know, you take a guy like this, you build it up with all this true evil bullshit, you make him paranoid with a guy that wants to kill him, and of course he end up like this. And you know, I don't think the things got better, because after 20 years still victimize yourself. I just tried to defend myself, and my point is, okay, you try to defend yourself, but after you him like so many times, when he started to run away, I'll ask him for help. Why you followed him? You weren't defending yourself anymore. And from now on, you know, the book is all about victimize, how the Norwegian system, the communist Norwegian system was against him, how the process wasn't fair, how they convinced the other guys to speak against him, and so on, so on, so on. When I was talking before, you know, about how he said that Mayhem were losers, nobody wanted, you know, to have anything to do with Euronymous, etc. But you ended up playing in Mayhem then. You were their bassist. Why you even accepted if you thought that they were losers? And another thing, Emperor and the Slave were copycats. Emperor and Slave were posers. Why you had Samot playing the bass in Aske if he were a poser? I mean, I think that the book has some nice thing, you know. He will also talk about the bands that he actually like in the scene, the band that he dislike for some reason, for that reason, how he recorded the albums, etc. I will not spoiler you anything of those stuff, because if you want to buy the book and read, it's better for me to not say too much. But you know, as I said, he victimized really a lot. When you read it, it looks like literally reading a psychopath that doesn't have any clue of what he did, and actually find pleasure even describing what he did. Another thing that it's really funny, that he wants to show himself as a guy that don't want attention. He's the guy that got cancelled on Twitter I don't know how many times and constantly make new accounts. He was the guy who was on YouTube. He was the guy that is actually on TikTok doing what if not wanting the attention. And literally there's kids in his comment section asking him to do a challenge about food and stuff like that. Like, dude, you're on TikTok. They don't give a shit. And you know, when I read in his book, when he says, the dwarves reminded me too much of greedy capitalistic pigs. And then you literally use Amazon to sell your books. So guys, what I think about the book? I think that if you want to know a little bit more on a different perspective, his perspective, the book is good. There's some good stuff there. I wouldn't buy it, because you know, when you read the Euronymous part, it really feels like you're going to give your money to a psychopath. I will read probably the other books just if my friend buy, or if I found them online. Definitely I will not buy it. With that said, we are at the end of this video. Hope you guys like it. Let's hope that the weather get better so we can do some black metal documentary outside in Norway and Sweden. If you watched till here, thank you so much, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Cheers!
Satan.